Let me ask you something, man to man. Have you ever stood in front of a woman in complete silence and yet felt something unmistakably real happening? No words were spoken, no clear signs were given, but you felt it deeply. It was in the way she subtly leaned in, like her soul was reaching for something invisible. It was in how her eyes lingered on yours, just a heartbeat longer than usual. And in that thick, electric silence, like the air before a storm, you told yourself, she feels it too. I know it. But then, nothing happens. No confirmation, no forward step. She walks away, or laughs, or changes the subject. And you're left there with something heavy in your chest, wondering, was that real? Or was I just another guy she smiled at and forgot? Here's the truth, and most men never get to hear this. You're not crazy. You felt something because it was real. The problem is, most men are blind to one uncomfortable reality. Women rarely express how they truly feel, especially in those early, fragile moments. Not because they're cruel, not because they're playing games, but because they want to know. Are you the kind of man who understands without being told? Can you stay still in silence and feel it? Understand it, trust it. That kind of man is rare, and that right there is the kind of man she's deeply drawn to. This is where Stoic wisdom speaks. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." A grounded man, calm and centered, isn't swayed by appearances. He doesn't beg for validation. He isn't confused by mixed signals. He sees what others miss, and he trusts what lies beneath the surface. That is the difference between the man who chases and the man who attracts. Today I'm going to share with you 3 signs that a woman is genuinely attracted to you. Not in that shallow, fleeting way you see online, but in a deep, primal way. The kind that stays in her heart even after you walk away. These signs are not obvious. You won't find them on Reddit or in a recycled dating video. They're subtle, they're ancient, and they matter. Once you learn to recognize and trust them, you'll stop chasing and start leading. Let's dive in. If this resonates with something real inside you, hit that subscribe button for Stoic Resolve. This is where men don't just watch, they grow. Where we learn to see, not just with our eyes. Sign number 1. She subtly adjusts herself in your presence. Have you ever entered a room and suddenly noticed a woman shift? A moment ago she was relaxed, but the second you appeared, she brushes back her hair, fixes her shirt, straightens her spine. You didn't say a word. You didn't even make eye contact, but her body reacted. That's not just attraction, that's alignment. Her feminine energy just sensed a shift in the room. A grounded masculine presence has entered, and now her instincts are responding, faster than her mind can even process. That moment holds something ancient, something primal. When a woman begins to adjust herself around a man, it's not about vanity, it's awareness. She becomes more aware of herself because of you. She's not trying to impress you. She's unconsciously calibrating. Because with nothing more than your presence, you made her feel alive in her own body. That's not manipulation, that's biology, that's sexual polarity, and that was just the first sign. As we saw earlier, when she unconsciously starts adjusting her body in your presence, it's more than a surface reaction. It's instinct, the first subtle signal of true attraction. And when you begin to notice those tiny shifts, the slight lean toward you, the slower tone in her voice, the softening of her laughter. You'll realize something powerful. Her body is speaking the truth that her mind isn't yet ready to admit. The Stoic masters understood this long ago. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that doesn't just apply to pain, it applies to desire too. Before a woman tells herself she likes you, she imagines you. She feels you. That's why these tiny movements matter so much. They reveal the story behind the mask. Not the performance she shows the world, but the subconscious signals she can't control. And here's what many men miss. If you're only chasing loud, obvious signs, you'll miss the quiet truths. Real attraction doesn't scream, it whispers. And if you're the kind of man who can feel those whispers, you'll never have to beg for attention again. You'll just stand, still and grounded, and the world will move around you. That's masculine stillness. Hit that subscribe button and stop chasing what's already meant to come to you. Sign number 2. She begins to take small emotional risks. This is something most men completely overlook because they're wired to look for obvious signals. The playful smile, the light teasing, the unexpected compliment. But the real signs of deep feminine interest, they don't surface easily. They're hidden beneath silence. They require a deeper level of awareness to feel. When a woman is attracted to you, not just physically but emotionally, she doesn't start with bold gestures. She starts with small shares, like emotional breadcrumbs. Tiny glimpses into the hidden parts of her inner world that most people never get to see. Maybe she casually mentions a childhood dream she's still quietly holding on to, or softly shares that her father was emotionally absent, not as a cry for pity, but as a subtle signal. Can you accept the real me? These aren't cries for help. They're invitations and for presence. She doesn't want you to fix anything. She's not asking for solutions. She wants to see, will you stay calm or will you flinch? Will you listen or deflect? Do you have the strength to remain steady in a vulnerable moment without making it about you? And this is where so many men fall short. They turn moments of connection into stages for performance. A woman opens up something fragile, and instead of listening in silence, he rushes to solve it. Or worse, he uses it as a segue to flirt, hoping to prove his worth. But a man who's grounded in Stoicism knows better. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That speaks directly to your role in these moments. When a woman lets you into her emotional space, what matters isn't what she says, it's how you respond. Do you see it as a burden or as an honor? Are you overwhelmed? Or do you breathe slowly, like a mountain unmoved in the storm? A real man doesn't need to impress. He just needs to be calm, present, and receptive. He knows this. A powerful silence can speak louder than 1,000 polished words. Picture this. You're taking a quiet evening walk with her. Out of nowhere, she says, "I've always been afraid of not being good enough." No context, no explanation, just a raw, honest sentence. What do you do in that moment? Do you grab her hand and promise her the world? Or do you simply pause, look into her eyes and say, "I hear you"? Just those 3 words, if spoken with sincerity, say everything about your character and your value as a man. Because emotional safety is the doorway to real connection. And when she tests you, even in small, subtle ways, and you pass, she opens up. Not because you chase, but because you were grounded enough to stay. And that, brother, is true power. That's what separates boys from men. So don't wait for the loud signs. Learn to feel the quiet ones, because that's where the truth lives. Earlier, we explored how emotional connection begins with presence, not noise. Now we arrive at a powerful, yet easily overlooked signal. Maybe you once mentioned offhandedly that you liked a certain band back in college. Just a throwaway moment. You forgot it completely. But 2 weeks later, she sends you a track they just released. You forgot. She didn't. That's not casual interest. That's attunement. She's tuning into your frequency. And the thing is, that kind of connection can't be faked. It doesn't come from dating tricks or surface level charm. It comes from instinct, from something primal and real. When a woman is truly curious about you, she starts tracking you. Not in a controlling way, but in a connected way. She remembers your words, your patterns, your emotional pressure points, even the things you didn't know mattered. She brings them up not because they were big, but because to her they are. Deep down, she's asking herself, can I trust this man's presence in my world? The Stoics taught us that true character is revealed in the little things, how a man handles silence, disappointment, and fleeting details of daily life. Marcus Aurelius once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Sign number 3, she remembers what you forgot. And when a woman remembers what you've forgotten, it means her inner world is starting to take on the colors of your presence. You're no longer just a blurry name in her contact list. You're becoming a shape, a place in her emotional landscape, one memory at a time. This isn't about control, it's about connection. She brings you your favorite snack because you mumbled it once after a long day. She texts you after a job interview that you barely mentioned over coffee. She asks about your family, not out of nosiness, but because she's gently weaving you into her emotional map. At that point, you're no longer just a man. You've become the man, the one she chooses to remember. And it's in that subtle shift where true attraction begins to take root. When your name is no longer just a line of text in her phone, but becomes a space in her mind, a memory, a feeling, a presence, a possibility. And in a world full of men shouting to be noticed, being remembered, that is real power. So, what now? Don't do this. Don't rush in like a boy begging for approval. Don't over-explain yourself like your worth depends on being understood. And absolutely do not lose your center just because a woman shows a flicker of interest. Stand still. Breathe. Hold your ground. A man who is truly rooted in his masculinity doesn't jump at every opportunity. He watches, he listens, he feels, not from neediness or insecurity, but from a calm strength that says, I know who I am. I don't need your confirmation to be him. The Stoics had a phrase, acta non verba, actions not words. But action here doesn't mean reacting impulsively. It means moving with wisdom, with intention, moving when it's time, not just because emotion tells you to. Let her signals come. Let her energy speak. Because if you are calm, grounded, and truly anchored in yourself, she will feel it. And if she's truly drawn to you, she won't need fireworks to be pulled closer. Your stillness will become the gravity, your restraint, the mystery, and your silence, the loudest message in the room. Never chase clarity when the truth is already revealing itself. Clarity doesn't come from begging or questioning. It comes from watching what someone does when you stop pursuing. If this video touched something deep within you, if you realize you've been moving too fast, too eagerly, too dependent on external reactions, then it's time to shift. Choose stillness. Hit like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below. Because real masculinity isn't about being chosen, it's about choosing. And when you choose to remain in stillness, she will feel it. And more importantly, so will you.